part of the inversion world of fake pseudo-spiritual brainwashing, which is to all be pacifists. You're not passive by nature. You're a fucking warrior. That's what true mystics actually are. They are warriors. If I become the way of connection first to my own divine soul, and I learn to discern the difference energetically, my soul's guidance versus my programming, my trauma's guidance, my fear's guidance, all that ego shadow self. When I learn that first, I can evolve into becoming somebody who is the way of compassion, and then the way of harmlessness and gentleness. If I actually put the work into myself to become these frequencies and live as them, because I become them, that is an energetic metamorphosis. There are 8 billion people on this planet. It would only take 1,000 of us to reach a certain threshold, and the entire global system would be there. When you know quantum energetics, that's the truth. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori, and I was interviewed on the podcast Unbroken by Max Lowen. And that name may sound familiar to you because she has been a guest on our podcast a couple of different times now. And she is one of our incredible mystical professors at Masters of Self University. She is teaching a class on mind control. Her and I are teaching that together. So since I was on her podcast as a guest on her podcast, we are actually going to air that episode because we loved it. We had such a great time together, and it is absolutely worth seeing and viewing. So without further ado, enjoy the podcast.
Rachel Fiori, I'm so excited. It's been a while that I've wanted to have you on Unbroken to share your beautiful wisdom with people. You have written an amazing book called The 20 Ways of Oneness, which I read. And you are CEO and founder of Masters of Self University, which I'm privileged to now be a professor in. And, you know, it's something that I have thought of a lot. We need to replace all the current satanic structures, including universities. So bravo for beginning that process and doing it. But I will let you give people a little more of some background and intro of yourself, but I'm really glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Very appreciative that I'm here with you. So I guess just a quick overview would be, I'm a mystical teacher of oneness. And the book that I wrote, the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness, those are 20 enlightened frequencies of the highest level of enlightenment that we can become ourselves in physical form. And they are the pathway to what oneness consciousness is, what we can become. And also, that's the pathway. Those are the pathways to lead us completely out of the satanic matrix that we were all born into, imprisoned into as slaves. And in order to unplug, I think part of this, one of the ways of oneness is the way of wisdom. It's really important to understand this is not intellectual learning. Intellectual learning is regurgitating a bunch of shit that you learn out of textbooks or whatever, wherever you get the information from. That's the old earth. That's the old satanic patriarchal system. You have to actually integrate and become. And these ways, this is a metamorphosis. It's beyond what we use and kind of dumb down the word of transformation. It is a true becoming, because a lot of people, I think, don't realize to unplug from that old earth, that old world, isn't just to figure out how to stop paying taxes, or things like that. Although those things are really important, and I applaud that. I think everybody should figure all those things out and do them. But you have to change who you are, because who you have been is a programmed version of the divine nature that you are. And so to unplug from that programming isn't just to do this or take action on that or no longer participate or no longer pay the corporations big money. Again, very important. But what I think most people really don't understand, to heal your traumas, to evolve for real, to unplug from that whole world in every way possible, means a metamorphosis has to actually happen. That's spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And if you're not doing that and getting the proper education to do that for yourself, you're still that slave in that old system, just in, a different version, like pseudo-spiritualism, which is very prevalent. But I want that to be understood as we continue to talk about these things.
Yeah, no, well said. So I want to kind of share with people some of these universal ways of oneness. And I don't know, it doesn't matter where we start, but I've been thinking a lot just yesterday about the significance of morality.
Mhm.
So a lot of the reasons why we're still in this enslavement system and in the satanic matrix is because we are not making moral choices. Now, to be fair, the Satanists have socially engineered over decades a society
Yep.
that is very satanic. You
Yes.
know, it's moral relativism, it's me, it's
Yes.
competition, it's all of that. So I'm sure there's one or a few ways of oneness that would it kind of help people with, because it sounds a little weird to people. They're like morality, but I think that's such an important piece. So why don't you speak to that?
Yeah. I mean, we've been conditioned to have none. And as you've mentioned, um, part of the brainwashing, the indoctrination that we get in school starting very early, school education, fake education, is to condition and brainwash people to play certain roles and to become at their level of consciousness, the way their mental programs work, the way their emotionality works, their emotional programs work, to exist in life. Their behavioral programs is extremely narcissistic,
Yes.
selfish, me. And that's usually catered towards men. And then women, it's more catered towards be subservient, be the slave, be the oppressed one, low, speak softly in a nice tone so no one gets triggered by you, because that's what it means to be a woman, even though it's like women are fucking divinely powerful, and we're the ones that bring all souls and manifestation onto the planet for it to exist and be created to begin with. And that's not a pretty process. So no, we're not like dainty and delicate and soft. All of that is part of the brainwashing that goes into us either giving ourselves away and putting ourselves last and never putting ourselves first, which is the opposite of what should be happening. So to get back to how does that connect to morality? Well, first of all, we don't even know what it means to be connected, the way of connection to our divine soul, because we've been brainwashed to connect with our traumas, to trauma bond, to connect in codependency or be very dependent upon others, religion and all the things, our governments. So part of becoming what it means to be a moral person is never a religious definition, not coming from me. I want to make that very clear. It is a humanity, a humanness, a divine being definition. The way of integrity is one of the ways of oneness. The way of purity, again, not by religion. When you purify your energetic fields and get rid of the toxins, mental, emotional, physical, the poisons that were fed, things like that, that's purifying. When we learn the way of patience, the way of truth, these are vibrational frequencies that we become ourselves. If I become the way of connection first to my own divine soul, and I learn to discern the difference energetically, my soul's guidance versus my programming, my trauma's guidance, my fear's guidance, all that ego shadow self. When I learn that first, I can evolve into becoming somebody who is the way of compassion and then the way of harmlessness and gentleness. If I actually put the work into myself to become these frequencies and live as them because I become them, that is an energetic metamorphosis. Again, it's not just learning about them and then that's what I am. That's not how this works. But if I am willing and devoted to becoming them and shedding and alchemizing my traumas and my programming, all of a sudden, oneness starts to come online, meaning I take care of myself first, not in a selfish way. This is the way of selfless service. If I care for myself and I'm healthy and I'm healed and I'm whole, I have more of me to give to everyone else. If I become wise or become the way of wisdom, I share that wisdom with others. I help others in the way of integrity. I am the way of truth. It naturally, organically flows from us when we connect to our true divinity and what that actually means versus looking out for me. I got to get ahead, competition, all that patriarchal bullshit. Instead of our divine true natures are natures of oneness. But we have to do the work to get back to that because of all the traumas and the suffering and the programming, et cetera. So it's work. It isn't just, oh, just, go within and that's just what you are. Well, I mean, look at the world. If it were that easy, we'd already be there.
Yeah. And I like the way that you say we need to return to it because I
Yes.
think naturally we are all
Yes.
those things, but we've been, we're in a matrix. And so that's been our true nature has been suppressed. And you're absolutely
Yes.
right. Having grown up around Satanists, one of their prime goals has always been to separate us from our divinity because
Exactly.
that's really the only way they can control us.
Exactly.
And, you talked about the way of harmlessness and gentleness, and you and I
Yeah.
have talked about that before, and I have that in me,
Yeah.
right? And despite a ton of horrible abuse and trauma designed to take that out of me, it never left my system.
Right.
It's just organically there. So that's how I know that we organically are all
Yes.
these ways, right?
Yes.
So they're twisted and distorted and all of that. And I just want to go to pose you a question that people pose to me
Mm-hmm.
in terms of morality for a sec, to go back there. So I often say, okay, so the only reason the satanic matrix continues is because we are consenting to it and helping it along. Like
100%.
that's the way out, us, right?
Yep.
So I'm an advocate of personal responsibility as a therapist too, which makes some people start working with me, and then when they figure that out, they quit because they're not ready to do that, which is
Yep.
fine.
Yep.
But I'll say, okay, if you're a pilot, don't fly the plane that sprays the chemtrails. Just say no.
Yep.
If you're a teacher, do not teach over sexual material to kindergartners. If you're a doctor, do not receive the bonus and inject children or people with all vaccines are toxic. They're
Yep.
meant to
Yep.
harm and kill, etc. If you're a police, don't arrest an English protester because some migrant raped their wife and that person is speaking out about it.
Yep.
Okay, things are complex, right? So,
Yes.
but that's not complex to me. It's like just don't do it. But then, and this is what I want you to address. People
Sure.
say, "Yeah, but I need my paycheck. But if I don't do it, then dot dot dot."
Exactly.
So address that.
Yes. So it is both. Now, this is oneness consciousness teachings here. It
Okay.
is both very simple and it is also complex all at the same time. And here's why. When you are energetically attached, here we're going to get into a little quantum physics here. And for anybody, just breathe and take your time when you hear this. I'm going to make this as simple as possible. And I just want to let you know that everything I teach in the classes at my metaphysical university, you learn all of this step by step, level by level in classes. So I don't want anybody to feel intimidated by this. Just breathe and hang in there with me. Quantum energetics, quantum physics. You have to understand, and this is where we lack the education. Quantum energetics means you are energetically consenting to everything that we've talked about, that you've mentioned so far, Max. We are anchoring it in place, but people don't understand how and why. So in a sense, it's say no to flying the plane that releases chemtrails or the pesticides or the whatevers. And yet, if that is all people did, if people really did do that, what would rise up again over time would be the same old earth, old patriarchal system, satanic system would rise back up. Why? We haven't energetically alchemized our consciousness and moved through energetically, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the metamorphosis that is required for a system like that to cease to exist. That's the problem. So what we've learned in our upside down world of inversion, that's that old satanic earth, is take action, make the choices. These are like the stuff that you described, those are behavioral programs. What do I behaviorally do? Truth is, it doesn't really matter if you're not doing the work on yourself to completely transform and alchemize the energetic programming that causes you to function the way that you do. So that is where the true education has to come online. And that's what's been missing in our whole world forever. So if we are willing to educate ourselves, put our willingness, our devotion, our energy, our finances, our time into educating, okay, how do I exactly do that? You energetically completely transform all of these programs. There is no fear of, I need a paycheck. All of that goes because you transform it. Once you achieve a certain level and cross a certain threshold with that, all of a sudden, what you described, people become oh my God, this is so easy. I just do that because you know what? I created a different type of paycheck over here. That's quantum energetics, which nobody functions at the quantum level. They do blindly, unconsciously. And that's where we energetically consent to holding these systems in place. It's because we lack education. We have to become the way of wisdom. And again, that is a process. You're not doing that in 3 months or 6 months or even a year. Like you have to devote to what it takes to transform yourself. And then the more people that do that completely take down the entire system, global system. And I'm telling you right now, it would only take there are 8 billion people on this planet. It would only take 1,000 of us to reach a certain threshold and the entire global system would come down. When you know quantum energetics, that's the truth.
Yes, absolutely. That's why you and I do what we do.
Yes.
You know, that was the guidance I received is start talking, tell your story, number one. Because if you understand satanic ritual abuse, you will understand the way the whole damn world works.
Exactly.
Okay. And it's become, you know, as I began doing it, I recovered more memories, you know, such as deciding to incarnate here to do exactly this, you know. And that's another thing. We aren't what they tell us we are. We are so much more. We have abilities. We're telepathic. We're self-healing.
Yes.
We're manifestors. We're creators. In fact, the dark uses us,
exactly,
our light, to create. They don't, they're severed from that.
Yep.
So it's like we're the sun and they're the moon. They can only use our reflected light.
Exactly.
So actually, here's the other interesting piece, and it's good news, I think. They've used us to create this hell on earth.
Yes.
It's good news because that means we can choose to create a heaven on earth.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But it's zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. You know, like I decided to incarnate in one of the darkest places and be in the darkest institutions, the Vatican on earth.
Yep.
Why? Because when you're at a higher dimensional level, you can't interfere in a planet that's going through what we're going through, but you can incarnate.
Exactly.
And you can like know from within, and then you just hope that you're going to be able to heal and remember and then affect change, which thankfully that happened for me. You know, it's always a bit of a risk. So what do you think about that, about this fact that part of the control and the dumbing down is that we've forgotten who we really are?
Of course, it is absolutely 100%. And they come at every angle that you can think of, and then 2,000 more that you haven't even thought of yet, because they know things that, again, has been kept from us for all of this time, generation after generation. And then we get dumber and dumber and lower consciousness every generation, because part of what they do is they make things like entertainment, fantasy movies. They make things like magic either be, you know, because they use it for evil. So they portray it as something to be very afraid of, don't go near, or you're crazy if you believe in stuff like that. Or they try to make you, the brainwashing is fantasy movies. Look at all these things, fantasy TV shows. Look at people who have powers. It's all fake. So that if you think anything like that is real, you're a Looney Tune, right? That's part of the brainwashing, where people don't realize that as a human, if you were to connect, heal, and alchemize all of the programming, heal all of your traumas, and you do the hard work, that is warrior's work to do that. You don't snap a finger, go in meditation, do one fucking plant medicine bullshit ceremony, and you're like, oh, I'm so awakened. You're not fucking awakened. You might be awakening. It is a process. You're not just suddenly enlightened. It's part of that pseudo spiritual brainwashing, which is still part of the matrix.
Yes.
So what people have to understand, and not just at an intellectual level, is we actually are magic. We are magical beings. Everything about us is magic. And science is just us trying to understand magic. That's what science is. How do we function? How do we work? Science just tries to understand the magic that we are, the powers that we have, which is why, of course, science is very misogynistic, doesn't study women and suppresses and oppresses all of that crap so that women don't know what they are. That's part of what happens in science. But as magical beings, the more you heal and elevate your level of consciousness, and you go through the levels of elevation and healing like that, and working at the quantum level of energetics, you master those levels, means you are unlocking all of these abilities, and you realize you can identify streams of consciousness, energetic frequencies just in your environment, and you can literally grab a hold of them and do things with them. And if you're coming from a divine place, which is the universal ways of oneness, that's why we become those ways of oneness. Harmlessness and gentleness means you use these energetic abilities for the good of everyone, and to help heal and to help elevate for it's the benefit of everyone. That's oneness. That's why they're ways of oneness. Whereas if we don't know what we are, and we're dumbed down and we're clueless, we can be brainwashed. All of our energy goes towards the evil side of things, where they use our life force energy and our creative abilities, and we don't even know we're using. They're taking it from us, and they're creating this hell on earth.
Yeah. And oneness. I want to talk about oneness because it's a word, but people really need to understand it. So from my own personal experience, like with the way of harmlessness and gentleness, like I can't even kill a bug. I have to trap them and release them outside. If I see any being hungry, a hungry person on the street, an animal in distress, what happens, and I think this is oneness, so you'll explain it more, is I feel what they feel.
Yeah.
There's no separation.
No separation.
So, and that's our true nature, right? That's empathy, that's compassion. That's why we are not psychopaths, and most people would not, for example, be able to rape a newborn baby like the Satanists do.
Exactly.
Okay? Because we feel each other, and we're all connected in that way. Not each other, but all life. I feel trees, right?
Yes.
So explain for people what oneness is, because one of my pet peeves is the fake spirituality. You know, say a couple of ohms, meditate in a cave, you know, go to a retreat in India, and you're, you know, and I know a lot of people that way. That is not spirituality, people. Spirituality is being a fucking warrior. Spirituality
100%.
is doing your trauma work, even though it sucks.
Yes.
Looking into your shadow and going, oh yeah, I really did a shitty thing right there. I need to own that and change it. Spirituality is helping others when they're in front of you, because they were put in front of you so you could help them.
Exactly.
Spirituality is hard. It's not some, you know, like that's ridiculous. So talk about what is oneness, and because that's what the Satanists did really well. They separated us from each other, from the bigger life on earth, and internally they fragmented us. So that's 100%. That's what we see today.
Yep. So it's part of what you described, and then I'll just add to that. So we have to hold back the parts of us that have been fragmented off, because we are fractured. So when people say, like, you're not broken, no, you actually are at a soul level. If your inner child wound, your inner child shows up to take over in a certain scenario because you're triggered, that's a fractured off piece of you That's a fractured off piece of your soul, literally. People don't even understand soul retrieval. They think they do. No, it starts with healing the wounds and the traumas that you've experienced in a lifetime. That inner child who was abused or harmed in some way. You look at, like, let's look in the mirror. We're not children. You're only children for so long. When's the last time you were an actual child, other than emotionally, mentally, when you got triggered yesterday, right? So those fragmented, fractured off pieces have to come back, which of course it's part of what we teach you how to do on an energetic level. You have to do that. You're not a child anymore. That's an aspect of becoming whole, which is oneness. Oneness is also understanding we are so brainwashed in duality. So our consciousness level, and this is every damn person on the planet, you were born into this inversion world, which means you are brainwashed to live and function and think in dualistic ways. So this is really hard to really grasp this. And I mean, like, for real to grasp it. We have to get out of that. How do we get out of that and enter into becoming a being of oneness? It means harmlessness and gentleness. We brought up several times. That's one of the universal ways of oneness. So you described part of what that means beautifully. It also means harmlessness and gentleness is not part of the inversion world of fake pseudo spiritual brainwashing, which is to all be pacifists. You're not passive by nature. You're a fucking warrior. That's what true mystics actually are. They are warriors, because if you're about to harm that dog and hurt that dog and abuse that dog, I'm going to put myself at risk. I'm going to throw myself in that, and I'm going to save that dog. If that means I get hurt, it means I get hurt. If it means I fucking hurt you in order to save that dog, I will fucking hurt you in order to save that dog. That innocent divine being that you're harming. Harmlessness and gentleness isn't, well, it's not my business. No, you're weak and coward, and you're brainwashed by the satanic old earth of inversion. That is the truth as the way of truth. It's not a judgment. It's not a judgment. It's not a put down, and it's not shaming. It's the fucking truth. We're so weak and pathetic with our brainwashing. We can't even handle hearing the truth without getting triggered and offended by everything. Right. Yeah. So that is an example. If you're going to harm that woman and there's a man starting to abuse a woman in public, are you kidding me that you're not going to get in the fucking middle of that and help that woman or that child or whatever the scenario is? Harmlessness and gentleness is, oh, look, I can see you as the way of truth causing harm to someone, a being right now. You're causing harm. I'm going to fucking stop it. That's harmlessness and gentleness. That's what it means to be a warrior. It also means I will not cause harm to you. That's oneness. It's both. And what we learn is to be one or the, if I'm not going to cause harm, it means I'm a pacifist and I have to be passive and quiet and soft and go fuck yourselves. No, if you're causing harm, I'm fucking stepping in. And if I get hurt, I get hurt. And if I get killed, I get fucking killed. And I will die as the way of honoring, because I stepped up and honored the being that you were trying to harm. The way of honoring is another way of oneness.
Yeah. So I love that other piece of harmlessness and gentleness. Self-defense is sacred, and self-defense includes the defense of innocence.
There you go.
Right? And that is being spiritual. That is a moral obligation that we have.
Yes.
And I can't tell you how many times I've done that, because it should be instinctual. I mean, when I was 7 years old and I was in an underground facility, trapped, and where I would be taken to be tortured, they would kidnap gypsies. It was in Rome, so gypsies are undocumented. And there were a group that had just been brought in, and I noticed some vent work, a big, huge vent that could fit a human body. And I seized that moment to help them flee. So I told them, follow me, run. And we went through the vent, and I knew where it would end up. There was a chain link fence, but I knew there was a piece that was broken on the bottom. I held it for them as they escaped. They managed to get out. Now, I knew full well that I was going to really get it. I was fucking gonna get it. And I did. I was buried with dead bodies as a punishment for that. Okay. I didn't fucking care. I was like, I see an opening. I see a way I can save these people, and I'm going to do that. And there were instances when saving people meant helping them leave their body. which I also was able to do,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's just that is the warrior part of
Yes.
harmlessness and gentleness. So
Yes.
thank you. I love that. So I want to just, because you mentioned it, and I think this is actually one of the most important things that people can understand is being triggered. So
Hmm.
let's talk about that. You and I have talked about this before. We
Hmm.
believe the same thing. Um, it's very complicated, I think, for people to understand. It takes a lot of repetition because what's the way I see it, and then I want to hear you pad that and add
Hmm.
to that, is when I'm triggered,
Hmm.
okay, that means that something out here, something someone said, or a facial expression, or an event
Yep.
activated something that's still in me, a
Yes.
trauma that's in me. It opens it up and it
Yes.
starts playing,
Yes.
but it starts playing on the person in front of me. Okay.
Yep.
Then, because that's a trauma in me, all the emotions and all the stuff about that trauma just come out,
Yes.
and it's thrown out onto the person in front of me who's just standing there and has a screen where I'm playing and projecting this
Yes.
crap onto them.
Yep.
So then I attack them, then they probably get triggered, do the same process back.
Now you're in
Now
the
you have a
hamster
big
wheel.
fucking mess.
Yep.
But that's the whole world. The whole world
Yes.
constantly operates. So no one's actually living in the present moment
No.
because all these child parts and wounds are constantly flaring and becoming activated. So if you look at the whole world, everyone's flaring and activated, and no one's actually living in the present moment. It makes it very
Yep.
difficult to do anything positive in the world, right?
Yes, exactly. Because, and that's one of the ways of oneness, the way of presence. That way of
Mm,
presence
okay.
is number 5 out of 20 ways of oneness. So the very first way of oneness is the way of responsibility. You are
Mm,
not the way of presence if you have not achieved the frequency of the way of responsibility. Sounds simple because we think we know the words, but it
yeah.
isn't. It's,
So describe responsibility.
yeah, it's, I witness with your example was beautiful. So I witnessed that I am triggered right now. So something's activated in here. Okay. The way of responsibility is first, because there's 12 levels to each and every way of oneness, just to throw that out there. So the very first level is I have self-awareness to say and see that I'm triggered, I'm activated. Now it's time to do the real work on myself. Okay. That person, I am either completely misinterpreting and projecting onto them that they're doing something negative to me, or they're a fucking asshole and they're doing something negative. Either one can be true. The problem is we are not even the first way of oneness, which is the way of responsibility. Ooh, look at this. Something's activated in me. Let me go within and see what's coming up for me. Is this wounding? Are these programs myself that I need to alchemize, transform, and get rid of? My shadow self is showing up online. And if so, I will remove myself from that scenario and I will do the energetic work on myself. This is what we teach in our coursework, right? At Masters of Self University. So the very first level of learning in our course, The Power Within, is these are my traumas showing up, so I'm responsible for them. Someone else may have caused your traumas. Likely that's the case for almost everybody that exists, right? They're not going to heal you. So the way of responsibility, I don't look to my abuser to heal me. What the fuck? It's unfortunate that that happened. I am the one who needs to take responsibility for the traumas that I have, even though I'm not the one that caused them, because I'm the only one that can heal them, alchemize them, and get rid of them so they are no longer my identity. And so that there's nothing left in here to get triggered anymore. So that first level of the way of responsibility is I see that I'm triggered and activated and this shit feels uncomfortable and I don't like it. I'm not going to blame anybody else. I'm going to turn within. I'm going to embrace my traumas and I'm going to learn the energetic work to actually, while I embrace them and pull them into my heart chakra, I'm going to learn the energetic frequencies that start to alchemize. That's just the first level of learning this kind of work. The more advanced you become in classes like quantum energetics, mastering energetic detachment, etc., the more advanced you become, you learn now that I don't run from my trauma and my pain. I don't have to run. I'm a panic attack. Okay, that is literally just energy flowing through me. I can learn how to embrace it. Remember, level 1 is embrace and bring it in, alchemize at that level. When we learn how to do that efficiently, we can go to the next level higher, which is learning to work with energy where, oh, look at that person is actually being an asshole. Oh, I healed my wounds. Oh, but it doesn't feel good when somebody's harmful. You will feel something still very different than adding it to your wounding. So we get rid of our wounds first, energetically. Then when there are no more wounds, because you can completely heal all your wounds, there's no reason to live with them forever unless you're identified with them. We get rid of those wounds over time. It's not something you do in a weekend, but over time you get rid of them. You learn how to do that. The next level is then when you're projecting your harm, your narcissism, your whatever it is, I can remove that in the moment in real time energetically, alchemize it, and completely get rid of it. It then has no effect on me. And again, harmlessness and gentleness. The way of responsibility is to set an appropriate boundary. If I'm a divine being, I'm a warrior. So I can set a boundary with somebody that says, you don't get to do that right now. And I can set whatever kind of powerful boundary on a scale of 1 to 10 that I need to set with that person. I'm powerful enough to do it. And there's no effect after that interaction because I've learned a higher level of energetics, quantum energetics, and alchemy at this point.
Right. No, that's beautifully said. And because we all need to, that's something we're not taught to do because we're so codependent, but we need to set boundaries because some people are out of control.
Yes.
And again, you can still have compassion for them as they're being an ass to you because you see their pain, you see that it's coming from unresolved stuff.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you allow it to affect you.
Exactly.
You know? And the boundary can be kind. It just says, no, I'm not receiving that. I'm not participating in that. Sorry, you're going to have to take that back and deal with it yourself.
Yes.
You know? So setting a boundary doesn't mean you're mean or you're, doing something bad to another person.
No.
It's actually sacred because we should not accept mistreatment. Now, when we're children, we don't have a choice. We can be abused, we can be tortured, and that's what happened. And like in my case, yes, that happened to me. However, I refuse to be a victim of that.
Yes.
I'm going to heal it. Now, was it fair? No.
No.
Was it beyond horrific? Yes.
Yes.
But what's my choice? To let that dominate me and ruin my life? Once I'm grown, it's my choice what I do with that hand, that card hand I was dealt.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shitty hand, but let me see what I can do. Because now I have the power as an adult to do whatever I want with all of this stuff. So am I going to live my life floating in my own garbage? No, I think I'll clean it up. And choose something different. So I think that's really important. And this is something that people really need to understand. Like, just self-awareness is everything. So talk about that.
Yeah, that's part of the way of responsibility. The first universal way of oneness is you gain an acute level of self-awareness over time. So it's, oh, I feel a little uncomfortable there. You learn to discern energetic frequencies, streams of consciousness that are flowing through you. So I feel uncomfortable. I didn't like that. Oh, that didn't resonate with me. I always tell people, like, be careful when you think something doesn't resonate with you, because it's probably your brainwashing and your traumas and your programs actually preventing you from going in the direction you should be going. It's because we don't know how to listen and learn and discern among energies. We're not, this is all hidden from us. So it's really critical. It's why I teach it in all of our coursework at Masters of Self University. Again, one level at a time, so we can actually get it. But it's learning to discern energetic frequencies. Well, that doesn't feel good, or that doesn't resonate with me. Oh, let's go deeper. Why? What are the energetic frequencies, streams of consciousness flowing through you in this moment? You learn energy at that level. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's actually a 3-year-old who was horribly abused and doesn't want to go in that direction because it's reminding me of something that happened at 3, because the body always remembers, even if your mind doesn't. So you go into what your body remembers. You start to read energy that your body has been telling you this whole time is in here, trapped in your body. And you interpret, you translate the energy. When you learn how to translate that energy, oh my gosh, great. Okay. Now we're actually moving towards free will choice. Because we're brainwashed, you don't actually have it, even though you do, but yet you don't.
Yeah.
When you realize through self-awareness that first way of oneness that acute level of self-awareness. The way of responsibility is I need to discern the energies and the frequencies that are flowing through me in the form of thoughts, in the form of emotions, energy trapped in my body, harming my body, making my muscles tight, or my fascia restrict my spinal movement. Like, it goes on and on and on. When I learn how to discern that through self-awareness, I then actually step into free will choice, what that means, quantum free will choice. I can change all of that within myself, and then I can move through this world as an actual sovereign free being, and not just say I'm sovereign and free. No, you're not. Like, you have to be at the energetic level. And we lack, like, I cannot emphasize enough, we lack this. Education has been withheld from us for a reason, because then we're easily brainwashed, and then we're easily shoved over to pseudo bullshit spiritualism. Then you think you're awakening and all this crap when you're not. And it just distracts you from waking up for real and healing for real. Self-awareness is the first part of the way of responsibility. That's universal way of oneness number one.
Yeah, no, I think it's I agree that it should be the first one. That's really, if even you just get that one, your whole life is going to change.
Yes. Yes.
So, and something you said, so the body doesn't lie, okay?
Nope.
And the body is our intuition. It's that knowing. And so, of course, they've abused our bodies with toxic food and water, and you name it. And again,
hormone
it would be
disruptors.
Yeah, everything. It would be our responsibility to clean up our bodies as much as we can, right?
Yes.
But there was a scientific study that I saw where they had a subject in front of a screen, and they flashed different images, and they had the person all wired to read their pulse and their heart rate and their sweat and all this. And they would show some nice images like kittens and puppies. And then they would just show like suddenly a horrible, violent image. And, the body reacts and does things. Well, the interesting thing of that experiment is, like, a few fractions of a second before the person's eyes saw the image, their body began to react.
Yes.
That's called neuroception. It's built in us. If you look at animals, it's totally built in them.
Yeah, 100%.
They can read the intent of any other animal or human, right?
Absolutely.
So that's something they've dumbed down out of us.
100%. And neuroception is a form of telepathy.
Yes.
Neuroception is a form of telepathy. People think of telepathy, oh, you read minds. No, there are different levels and variations of what telepathy actually is. And neuroception is one where, for the most part, the fascia of your body, what you described, the fascia of your body, they sent out like these signals, almost like, I kind of describe them sometimes as like energetic tentacles. They send out, and they're feeling in their environment in a telepathic way. The fascia of the body, your connective tissue, it is its job to sense danger around it, and then to try to protect the body and you from that. The fascia of our body is magical in and of itself. And you do a whole podcast episode just on what the hell fascia is in our body, because again, kept from us. It has its own consciousness. So part of that neuroception that you're describing is the fascia at work, bringing in telepathically what's coming next to prepare you, to keep you safe. So the reactions inside of the body, a couple seconds before the images even flash, that's the fascia going to work. That's how magical our body is. And if we go back to that way of responsibility, which starts with an acute level of self-awareness, when you can read the energetic changes in your body like this, in that split second or two, you can then say, oh, a terrible negative image is coming, or this violence or this harm, because your body warned you before your brain can register it. So if you're that's why part of brainwashing is to keep us trapped in mind, logic, and intellectualization, which is all fucking brainwashing. Drop into your body, get out of your mind, drop into your heart. Thinking ruins everything. Stop thinking. And if you are self-aware and you're flowing, as the way of surrender means flow, you're flowing with the body because you're a heart-centered being and you're out of your mind, you're flowing with energetic frequencies that will teach you, guide you, support you, comfort you, elevate you before your brain can even register what's going on. That's the way of surrender, higher level of surrender. That means flow with the universe, flow with the magic that you are. If we all had the powers to do that,
Yeah.
The old system of inversion would be gone in a matter of a few years. That's why they don't want us to have this wisdom, and they don't want us to actually learn how to connect back to it and turn it back on. Knowing about it doesn't just turn it on. It's very important to say that out loud. You have to be willing to do the work because of what they've done to us to turn all these things off. But they can be turned on, and we just have to have the willingness and devotion to, and the work ethic to turn it all back on.
Yeah. No, let's talk about that, the heart versus the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, people look like billboards. It's energy.
Mm-hmm.
We do read each other's energy. Whether
Yeah.
we realize we're reading it or not is a separate
Exactly.
issue.
Yep.
But everyone is in, and it changes. You know, you might be in a shitty mood, then you might be whatever. And so it's like a constantly changing
Yep.
billboard
Yep.
of us. And that's something that they've really dumbed us down out of. And the mind, in my opinion, is a very useful tool.
Yep.
However, it's in service to the heart,
There you go.
just like the ego is in service to the soul. So we need an ego to function in this reality, but it shouldn't be running the show. And the mind, you know, it's been called monkey mind. So the mind, as much as it can be great and helpful, can also be keep you imprisoned and lead you down the wrong paths. So talk
100%.
about the heart versus the mind and what can we do?
Yeah. So dropping into our heart and slowly over time, changing our energetic frequencies, our neural pathways, and how we function. That's part of what waking up for real, awakening for real actually means, raising our level of consciousness. Dropping into our heart chakras, really connecting energetically to the center of our being. That's where our soul comes in and floods our system. We are not a body, a human that has a soul. Very important to understand that. We are a soul that temporarily has a body and a human experience. Okay. So the physicality of our soul flows through energetically. Our soul flows through energetically through our heart chakra. That's where it enters in. So when we connect to our heart chakra, when we learn to live from there, we're connecting to our soul. Okay. Our soul actually flows through our fascia too, but that's for another time and place. But just understanding that, we start there, we get out of the mind and we stop following our mind. Those are all mental programs running. You're now learning how to energetically connect and be in tune with something that is a much grander, higher divine power, which you are supposed to become in human form, but you can't if you're disconnected from your own soul. That's your life force energy flowing through, right? So it's being a heart-centered being is the old world of inversion. We're righting what has been put wrong, so to speak. You know, the upside down world is come from mind. Your mind is a tool to support. Your mind tells you, you know, how much you can spend this month because this much is left in your bank account. Like that's what the mind is for. It is a tool. It's a resource. It is never meant to run the show. And our shadow cells, with all of our traumas and our programming, unhealed stuff, our shadow cells need to be completely dissolved and alchemized. We don't need to walk around as wounded, powerless people. We can just heal all of that. You're a fractal of the goddess incarnated, for crying out loud. Like, realize what you are. You don't need to walk around wounded. You can heal that. It will take time, depending on what you've been through, but who cares? Just do it. And over time, you won't be walking around wounded anymore. Our ego, which is completely misunderstood, part of pseudo-spiritualism and done by design, of course, so that we never get it right and we can't awaken for real. Our ego, we don't want our ego to be a part of our existence for the most part. Our ego is literally a brief temporary veil of separation, divine separation. Okay. So when our souls come here, we all know what the rule is. We forget everything so that we can actually integrate and learn how to temporarily be a human. The ego is that temporary energetic veil that, quote unquote, in a divine way, separates us from the source, the one. We are separated from her in order to have a human experience. That's a beautiful divine thing. It is a type of divine separation, divine independence away from the one, temporarily in physical human form. That's all the ego was meant to be. And that is what divine masculine energy is. It's a divine independence, that I am divinely separate, even though I'm still also simultaneously one. So there are all these concepts that people throw around. People don't even know what they mean. Not a judgment. It's just that's done by design. And as the way of humility, part of waking up for real is realizing we don't know fuck all. And when you realize you don't know fuck all, are you willing to learn and become for real? Because that's how we put an end to all this. And then people can connect to their divine power for real. They can live as divinely independent, powerful, divine, wonderful beings in harmony, the way of harmony, with all of Earth, all beings, and the feminine energy that we are birthed from. Right? I mean, that's part of what the way of wisdom, becoming educated for real means. And again, time, effort, we have to be willing to do that in order to heal what this planet so desperately needs us to heal, which is first ourselves.
Yeah. And that's why the culture of, sound bites and quick pills to fix whatever
Yes.
ill you have is in existence.
Yeah.
And sadly, many people do not want to, at this point, put in that effort.
Yeah.
But, do you want to go through life all twisted and crippled?
Yep.
Or do you want to invest some time? Because the journey itself is amazing.
Yes.
The journey of healing itself is probably one of the reasons we're here,
Exactly.
to experience that.
Yes.
And, the mind is the place where the cult has, they've really utilized it with mind control, because the mind can be controlled.
That's it right there. That right there. That is such a key thing that I hope everybody listens to that and takes that in for a minute. If you are living in your mind and you come from mind, you can be brainwashed and controlled. It is that black and white, which is if you do not come from mind and you get out of the thinking, intellectualization, inversion world, and you learn to become a new human, metamorphosis, the transformation, it is warrior's work to become this. But if you choose to become it and you move through that transformational, massive, energetic, spiritual metamorphosis and become a new type of human, a new being, when you put that work in, you don't come from mind. You can live in the unknown. You cannot be brainwashed. You cannot be controlled if you achieve that.
Yeah.
That should be motivation enough.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not just the programming that's put in us from birth and through trauma, because, there's individual in satanic ritual abuse, they actually deliberately split people into altars and program those altars to do certain things, to be a sex slave, to be an assassin, to be whatever, right?
Yep.
But on a global level, it's the same damn thing. They're doing the same fucking thing. They're using war and poverty, which is not natural, and scarcity, which doesn't even exist. And all these traumas, right?
Yes.
To fragment us, because when you're stressed and you're in a trauma response, anything they want to program you with goes into the subconscious.
Exactly.
It's just right there.
Yep.
If you want to watch television programming, you sit there and you're in a brainwave state where it's just going in.
Yep.
And even if once you become aware of anything, it loses its power. But when you're not aware and you're watching even a harmless sitcom, the social engineering that I've watched over decades, because I study this stuff, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. They've, for example, with trying to normalize pedophilia, at lower and lower ages on innocent, funny family sitcoms, kids are dating at 11, at 10, they're wearing sexy clothes. That's brainwashing you to accept that. That's not normal, but you're supposed to now accept it as normal because it's on this screen, and the brain does not distinguish between outer reality, a screen, or your internal playing programs, right?
Exactly.
So the mind is absolutely hijackable. And to boot, there's a mile-long list of patents you can go research of actual technological mind control.
Yes.
So tell me the mind isn't vulnerable if it can't be, it's influenced by literal brain waves.
Exactly.
During COVID, they did the toilet paper thing. That was a pulse thought into people's brains to make them run out and buy toilet paper. And about 35% of people fell for it.
Yeah.
So, this is real.
Yes.
So it's so you definitely bravo, you got to start living from your heart and have your mind be the servant to that.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to be vulnerable. And the most mind controlled,
Always.
of course, think that they're the most right. So you try and talk to a mind controlled person,
Oh,
they'll become vicious and fight you back,
yep.
and they'll literally repeat the program. You will give them logic that shows that what they just said is bullshit, and
Yes.
they won't hear the logic. That's the program mind.
And they'll
People
call
aren't
you
the
illogical.
exactly.
That's the funniest thing.
So the program mind is ready to push back at
Yes.
anything that does not fit through the little filtery things that have been put in there. So you
100%.
can't trust your own fucking mind. You just can't.
No, you can't. Your mind's a dick. I don't care who you are. Your mind is a dick. Don't stop listening to your mind. It's a dick. You cannot trust your mind ever because sometimes it's right. Sometimes it's wrong. It's brainwashed. It's programmed. It's influenced. It's all the things. When you learn energy and energetics at the quantum level, these are the things that you get taught that in our classes at Masters of Self University, when I can feel the mental energy come online with students. I'm like, stop thinking. Don't think. Do not answer that from thought. Feel. And I'm always teaching people how to feel and translate energy. Feel what the answer is. Feel what the truth is here. Feel, discern. Now, and just step by step, we're teaching people feel what you feel in this person, feel what you feel in this answer, feel what you feel in this response. What are the different layers of energetics, mental, emotional, or otherwise, that you feel right now? Now discern the difference, and everybody practices that. It's like it's a form of magic, so to speak, because you're learning how to tap into your superhuman powers, which is your divine nature anyway, and that slowly comes online for people because energy never dies and energy never lies. Energy
Correct.
never dies and energy never lies, but people lie all the time, even when they're brainwashed and programmed to lie when they don't even think they're lying. That's part of programming, it's part of brainwashing. Energy never lies, it never dies, it's always there. It transforms, we can transform it. So we have the power. When you really understand that energy never dies or lies, you learn how to read energy. That doesn't come from mind. That comes from a deeper part of you that is eternal. It isn't your human self that is doing that. So we want that to come online, interpret, and not just listen to what someone says. Even in my, metaphysical university, the students I've had classes where I will say something and they just, they follow along because they know me well enough by now to know the kind of being that I am. I'm a mystic of oneness consciousness, for crying out loud. I'm here to teach everybody this on the planet. And yet I will scold them when I can feel certain people who just believed me because it's Rachel. Oh, don't you dare. Don't you dare feel. And then I challenge them to feel what is coming from me. Now, can you trust that? Don't you listen to what I say ever, or you're failing the class, And I tease them and challenge them all the time. Stop believing, stop thinking, feel the energy coming from a person. Then we don't project. Literally projecting on other people ceases to exist because then you can discern the difference between, oh my God, she's so angry versus she is passionate and divine. And you can see the difference. Or you can see when somebody's like, oh, let me tell you what you want to hear and listen to my tone is so stable and smooth and consistent because I'm fucking brainwashing you. And you can now read energy and read the difference. You can't be brainwashed anymore.
And it's a bit of a bypass to project some kind of, oh, it's Rachel. I mean, I have projections on me all the time. Oh, Matt, it's like, no, I'm just like you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bypass your own self so that you can say, oh, you'll tell me no, no,
Nope.
no.
Mm-mm.
I'm just being me and you need to be you. Right. And so let's talk about consciousness. So in science, just like in spirituality, they say the soul's in the body, but it's actually the soul has a
Yes.
body. Science says that the mind produces consciousness, but actually consciousness is
Produces the mind.
produces the mind.
Yeah.
And if you've studied quantum physics and the double slit experiment, that proves it. So
Yep.
basically, the experiment, to make it simple, shows everything is energy. It's in a wave state
Yep.
until there's a consciousness observing it,
Yep.
then it collapses into a particle into matter. What does that mean? That means that everything physical in our world, first of all, is actually energy. So it's not really physical, but it is kind of, for the game. But
It's an
it's
energetic
physical,
form.
right? It's physical because we are interacting with it with consciousness.
Observing it. Yep.
So let's talk about, because I think that when, like you said, a certain percentage of humanity reaches a certain level of consciousness, the whole satanic matrix cannot exist
It
because they
can't.
can only exist in a frequency bandwidth called survival.
Yes.
Hate, anger, war,
Yes.
fear, victim. When we're at this level of consciousness, they cease to even be able to exist, and
Yep.
everything will be in this new earth, so-called
Yes.
new earth, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about consciousness, because I even think consciousness can eliminate all disease, all
It can.
issues, everything is wiped out. It's consciousness, consciousness, fucking consciousness, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. That's it. That is it 100%. And it's becoming a level of consciousness. This is where our levels come in. Okay. It's like grades in school. And of course, it's an easy analogy to understand. I'm talking about indoctrination, systems of indoctrination, but it's an easy analogy to understand. You cannot function as a freshman in college or get your master's degree or doctorate if you haven't even passed third grade yet.
Right.
It's like we have to understand evolution. We have to do it in levels. And however fast or slow you move through that level and how fast or slow you integrate and become it and learn it, that's up to you. Who cares? Stop putting a timeline on it. But consciousness is no different than moving through school. You raise your level of consciousness. And what that means is you don't regurgitate spiritual nonsense and call yourself woke. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, what are we doing? Like, how stupid we're still so dumbed down that we think it's an intellectual process. It isn't. It's a becoming. So when you integrate what you're learning and you become a higher level, your physical body goes through the transformation. It has to catch up to your level of consciousness. Our DNA activates. Our DNA, certain things turn off, certain things turn on. We evolve. Abilities, gifts come online more and more and more because we are going through that ascension process. And ascension is the physical body catching up to a higher frequency, right? So our consciousness to become aware at a higher level and function at that new quantum level, that is raising our level of consciousness. Just knowing about these terrible things in the world doesn't mean you're a highly conscious person. It means you have knowledge, not wisdom. They are not one and the same. And that is learning, if anybody listening is like, I don't get it. It's okay. It is okay if you don't understand that. Truly, it is okay. That's part of the problem. We lack that education. We have it now. That's what Masters of Self University is for. But I'm pointing it out for a reason that intellectual knowledge does not help us raise our level of consciousness. Knowing knowledge, knowing about the parasitic cult leaders of the world, that we live in a prison planet of inversion, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, great that you know about it. Again, it doesn't mean that means nothing. We need to know about that stuff. But just knowing about it doesn't raise your level of consciousness. All you did was gain knowledge. Raising our level of consciousness means, oh, that's scary. That's horrific. Holy shit. What the fuck happened to you? That's real. Oh my gosh. Great. Now, what does that activate in you? What are the frequencies flowing through you emotionally, mentally, otherwise? What are the energetic streams of consciousness that have now attached to you? And you even know what that means. Now, alchemize, change, transform, create a new reality. Ignite ways of oneness through you to alchemize and be at a higher level where that stuff can't touch you anymore. Now you're a more highly conscious person. And if we don't know how to do that, we're not highly conscious. It's that simple. It's never a judgment. It's just the truth. That's what it means to become a more highly conscious person, because our eternal selves that don't live in a body, doesn't have a body, like your body doesn't have that soul, like I mentioned. The soul temporarily has a body, flows through this physical body in order to experience this physical existence. And when we can learn what that really means and how to function as the eternal self first, not instead of, because we're both. When you are incarnated as a person, you are an eternal divine energy, a divine consciousness, a fractal of source. You are also a human. You are not one or the other. That's inversion world of duality. In oneness, you are both, and you have to learn to integrate and function as both. That's part of raising our level of consciousness, to be grounded in our humanness and our human physical experience, and also to connect and integrate that true enlightened divine consciousness so that we elevate and evolve as humans, so that we can heal this planet, heal ourselves, get out of that old matrix, and create the heaven on earth, the new earth that everybody talks about.
Yeah, I think it's happening. We've historically had a lot of resets. They've had a lot of resets for, I
Yes.
mean, this planet's
Yep.
been run by the dark for a long, long time.
Very long
There's
time.
been many versions of humanity. That's why people can't explain how the pyramids were built, or,
Yep.
the figures on Easter Island, or the
Yep.
whatever, right?
Yes.
So, as we've all seen in the last few years, this was the end point, so to speak, what
Yep.
their wet dream was,
Yep.
to do the next reset. And
Yes.
it's been happening in front of our eyes. However, from what I can see, it's not working. It didn't take. We
Right.
don't have vaccine passports. We don't have digital currency. We don't have a social credit system. Yes, there's headlines saying, oh, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And I would caution people about that, okay? Because they use our energy to create, right?
Exactly.
So when they named this coronavirus it's a cold virus that they sort of re-engineered, they called it COVID, which stands for Certificate of Vaccination ID. Now, whenever you repeat that word, it's spelling, you're
Yes.
spelling it into existence.
Yes.
And so when they say scary headline, oh, the blah, 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 and you
Yes.
attach and go all fearful, you're feeding that into fruition.
That
So it's
right
what,
there, I just want to interject and forgive my disruption just for our listeners.
go ahead.
That is energetic consent. That's where
Yes.
people learn in our classes. Like, that is the point of conception, where you energetically attach to something, you pull it into yourself, and then you start to fuel it with your life force energy to create a reality. Even though you're like, oh, I wouldn't want that reality. That is what we mean when Max and I talk about quote unquote consent. And you're like, I would never consent to that. No, energetically,
You
that is the
did.
point of conception. You energetically attach, you bring it in, and then you actually fuel your life force energy, fuels it. And enough people do that. That's what creates the reality that you don't want to see. So thank you for
Right.
letting me interject there.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Interject away as you see fit. There's many ways to consent. So one group of people, and the New Age program was created for people who kind of woke up to mainstream religion programs. These people are so clever. They have a layer above a
Oh, yeah.
layer. So if you
Yes,
wake up, now you're trapped in this layer.
exactly.
So the New Age is conveniently, oh, focus on unicorns and butterflies. Don't focus on evil. Well, that's
Yeah,
convenient for evil. Okay.
exactly.
That's really helpful to evil if you believe that, oh, children are being raped, tortured,
Yep.
and literally eaten
Eaten.
as we speak here on
Yep.
this podcast. So that's one level. I've had
Mm-hmm.
people say to me, well, I can't listen to your story. I can't listen to that. Okay. Well, then
Well, how weak
you
and pathetic are you?
well, so you don't care that it's like I say, it's like you're walking down the sidewalk and you see a little child being raped and you go, oh, I can't deal with that. And you keep
Yeah,
walking.
exactly.
Okay.
Powerlessness.
Yeah. So you cannot, that's one level where people don't
Yep.
want to hear, they don't want to hear the COVID jab, and really all jabs are bioweapons. They
Yep.
don't want to hear that the fluoride in the water is actually not good for your teeth. And the
Yes.
whole thing is a setup to
Yes.
lower your IQ and
Yep.
poison you,
Yep.
right? So that's one level of like, oh no, I want to stay in my comfortable little reality because these things
Of
are too
powerlessness,
stressful. So let's talk about powerlessness then.
emotional fragility, where we learn in that old patriarchal world of inversion, that satanic cult world of logic. And it's hilarious. Like, it's seriously, sometimes I laugh hysterically and I can't stop because of how illogical logic is. People don't understand. Your logic is connected to your emotional IQ. And here's my extreme example I like to give. A lot of people know who Jeffrey Dahmer was. He was a serial killer who killed many boys and men, raped them, drugged them, raped them, and ate them. He was a cannibal too. Okay,
Right.
simply put.
He
He
was a
also went,
Satanist.
yeah, he was a Satanist. And he went through a phase of, well, I mean, man, these bodies decompose quickly, don't they? And as I continue to rape them, like, they decompose really fast. So I'm going to try to make zombies out of these people too. So he injected like acid or whatever it was, and he tried to keep them alive. keep them as slaves so that he can continue to rape them before he killed them, cut out their body parts and ate them and did all the things that he did. Okay. So horrific. And let's break down a couple things here. He had severe abandonment issues. People don't like to hear about that. It's just easier to call him a fucking monster. Well, guess what? Guess where all these programs start? All the trauma when you start as a child, when you as a baby, etc. So how many people can have a fear of abandonment, of rejection, of being left alone? Okay. So in his logic that's connected to his emotional IQ, which was non-existent, oh my God, this man who came home with me, this boy that I lured in here, they're going to leave me unless I kill them. Well, then it's logical to just kill them because then they can't leave. What people don't understand, that's fucking logic, people. Doesn't it make sense if I don't want you to leave and you'll leave on your own? I could just kill you, or I could drug you, do what I want with you, then kill you at some point, whatever. Like, that's logic. I want people to really take this in. Your logic is connected to your emotional IQ. So logically, if you're going to leave and I don't want you to, I need to do something against your will and trap you here, enslave you, drug you, or kill you, or all of the above. And then you just can't leave. Oh my God, I'm a genius. That's fucking using logic.
Yeah.
So I'm pointing this out because going back to that heart-centeredness, when we are logical, mental, intellectual people, we're fucking monsters. And we think using logic is a good thing. It only is good when you're an extraordinarily high level of emotional IQ, which means that is what it means to be a highly conscious being, is that you have an extraordinarily high EQ. It is that's a highly conscious being. I can feel what this harm does. I can feel what it did to me. I'm not going to carry that over to anybody else. I'm going to alchemize it and heal it. And I'm going to put an end. I'm going to have zero tolerance for harm. So that's what we need to understand about intellectualization and education from the old earth of just memorizing a bunch of shit and filling up your heads and filling up your minds with things. Your mind can't be in control, or that's what it creates. And then we like to dismiss it because we're in our minds. Well, he was a monster. Look at all over the world. They're all over the place. Just as you mentioned, how many men are raping women, babies, and cutting them up right now, just as we've been having this discussion? It is a real thing all over the fucking globe. And it makes sense because I want to do that. Well, that's logic.
Well, the logic of the Satanists.
The logic of the Satanists
is that, we have to torture you and terrorize you and brutalize you.
Yep.
Because that is in homage to Lucifer, and
Yep.
Lucifer is going to come save all of humanity, but it requires sacrifice. And the logic is, well, if I want to make you into the whatever useful thing that I want to make you, then I have to do this to you. I'm so sorry. It's a form of love, is the logic, And I had many illogical logics. For example, when I was a child, it was paired, classical conditioning, that if I loved someone or showed love to any being, then that being would be excessively brutalized.
Yes. Yeah.
And so my logic became, I'm not going to love anyone or anything, because otherwise that thing will be hurt and destroyed.
You got it.
So
that right there is the programming.
Yes. So I had to learn that was not actually true. Now it's logical.
Yes.
But it isn't.
But it is. It's exactly. It's illogical logic of what we learn in the old earth of inversion, that old world, that patriarchal systemic cult world.
Yeah.
We need to be willing to educate ourselves to deprogram. And I don't even like that word. It's seeing the programs and understanding what those programs are, and then seeing how you are running those programs in various levels and various forms. So somebody might say to you, Max, or listen, but I mean, I wasn't tortured, Max. So, I mean, I get it. I hear you. But like, I wasn't tortured in the Vatican, and I didn't have satanic ritualistic abuse. That wasn't. So I'm not like you. That's the mistake. And that's why I pointed out when I said there's the programming, because it is done to us on lower levels. So it's understanding how the program of that satanic global cult works, and then learning how that influences you in your growing up everyday life. And then just saying things like, just be logical. Oh, fucking, I hope not. Jesus, look at the world. The world is based on logic, you fucktards. Like, are we going to wake up for real? Finally, it's dropping in and evolving into a new superhuman. That new superhuman is heart led, because when it's heart led, you actually develop the superhuman abilities of sensing what you're feeling before your mind can even detect it and your brain can make sense of it, and actually reacting. And reacting not in a negative way, responding. Let me change that word. There is a responsiveness that is faster than lightning and the telepathic communicate. All these things come online, and then you're functioning as a superhuman. The satanic cult that rules the world will go down so like lightning fast if we get just even 1,000 people to reach a certain threshold of what we're discussing here today, these abilities. And it's not about I'm special, I have psychic ability. It's not, I'm talking about evolving as a human and becoming a higher level human. That's a heart-centered, highly conscious human. And if we can become that, just 1,000 people at a certain level of it, that cult that we see ruling the world, all the enslavement, all the imprisonment, all the inequality, all of that dissolves and comes crashing down. And then that's creating a new earth, because we have a new higher frequency that everybody functions at in their everyday lives. And what we now energetically consent to are higher frequencies of the way of equality, of the way of compassion, of the way of harmlessness and gentleness, of the way of integrity, the way of truth, the way of trust, etc. There's 20 of them. If we can harmonize the world in that way, it doesn't take many people to be able to do it, but people have to be willing to do it. It's warriors work.
Yep. And I think, I'm optimistic that that is happening. How fast it goes really depends on us and how many of us are willing to do that. Exactly. And like I was saying a few minutes ago, so there's the group of people that, see no evil, hear no evil. It's like, no, I don't want to know. Yep. Then there's people that go on the awakening journey and start to, oh my God, and it feels very exciting. And it's like, oh my God, 9/11 was an inside job and blah, 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 and then they can get stuck there. And there's a level of the cult that wants to keep them stuck there. Yes. So the alt media is all CIA run, and they want to keep you in the, it's so bad, it's so terrible, we're all going to die. Well, now you're actually helping the cult.
100%.
Then there's the spiritual bypassing, like, oh, I'm so spiritual, I went to yoga and whatever. Instead of actually doing your fucking work and doing the work that's necessary on the planet. So there's many layers of entrapment.
Yes.
But you've got to kind of grow through sometimes the programs and the layers. And it's okay. It's okay if you fell for UH program or you fell for whatever program.
Exactly.
Just learn. You've got now a layer that you've learned, and now you go to the next level and the next level. And if you think, oh, I'm done, I'm enlightened, you're fucked. You're trapped again.
Yeah.
Because the more you know, the more you understand, oh, I don't know shit. Okay. Exactly. And so it's that, we're not done. We're not, only hands can be cured. It's a constant thing of going higher and higher and developing ourselves. And all of this is available to us.
Yes.
So, I want to kind of wrap up because, again, we've been going for a while and the human attention span has sadly been,
done by design.
By design, of course. So, in my work, I try and help people understand all of this, the personal healing part, the knowing what's out here so you know and can make informed choices so you're not mind controlled, and the process of, kind of reconnecting to your divine. I love you. You are someone that makes complete 100% sense to me. You see the world very clearly. You clearly have mastered a lot of what we're talking about but see, everyone can do it. So I want to
Yes.
say myself and Rachel are not special or, whatever. We're all capable of all of this. You just have to begin to do it. Okay. And I use that example too. Like people say, when people are kind of awake, they're like, oh, that person is so stupid. No, they're not stupid. They're just in second grade and you're in 10th grade.
We're in
Okay.
different grades.
So that's all it is, right? So let's not judge each other. That's satanic. That's what they want. That's divide and conquer. So now there's divide and conquer, not just by race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, jabbed or unjabbed, but now it's like awake or stupidly asleep, sheeple. It's like, stop, okay? So, one thing that you've done that is beautiful, and I want you to talk about as we kind of wrap up, is you've imagined a new university, which I'm going to teach a class on mind control at because you've got to understand it or you're going to
Yes.
be prey to it, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and kind of like anything that you want to kind of leave people with and how you see the work that you're doing helping people get to this point, this sort of point where we can shift.
Yeah, beautiful. So, Masters of Self University. I was a clinical licensed therapist working in the sick care system, and thinking I was there to help people, right? Because that's why we go into the work that we do.
Right.
Many years ago now. And what I saw, I realized, oh, for the love of Christ Himself, I am here not to help people. I mean, of course, I help people. I'm here to learn what the system is really doing
Yeah.
and to see it
Yeah.
behind the scenes firsthand, not hearsay,
Yeah.
right? So I want to mention that first because I realized very quickly when I was in that after my master's degree, and then I went on to specialize, and I did, I worked very hard because the better I can become, the more expert level I can become, which was always my goal, not from an ego standpoint, to help people. The more I know, the more I can help people. So that was my inspiration. That was my drive always. And then I saw what the system was, and I was mortified. I mean, it was a traumatic experience just in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then I'm a part of the system that makes people sick. And they told me, stop healing people, Rachel. Sick people make us money. I was like, oh, fuck no. Okay. So over time, I realized what my bigger mission was, what my soul really came here to do. And Masters of Self University is part of that bigger mission. So it's teaching people on the energetic quantum level. Masters of Self University is a metaphysical school of oneness consciousness. So we teach at the metaphysical level, quantum level energetics, where you apply it to your everyday life, how to become beings of oneness consciousness, how to alchemize your traumas, actually for real. Talking about your trauma doesn't heal your trauma. Just quick little clue, everybody. Talking about your trauma doesn't make it go away. It teaches you to cope. We don't cope. That's not what we're teaching here. So you learn energy and you learn to evolve as a being. You learn to activate your DNA, and you learn it at the different levels that if we didn't live in a world of imprisonment and enslavement, we would have been learning this from, early on as children in our quote unquote school systems. So Masters of Self University, if you can't master yourself, then you are literally a slave to the old inverted system. It's that simple. That part's black and white. So we teach people how to get out of that system in order to create a new one. How do we create a system that is the way of unconditional love, that is the way of harmlessness and gentleness, that's the way of harmony and all the ways of oneness? How do we create that? You can't create it by thinking about it and hoping for it. You yourself have to vibrate at the frequencies of those enlightened frequencies. You have to become the frequencies. That's what we teach, level by level, step by step. We are magical beings. You learn that you're magical, and energetically you can create this beautiful, harmonious world by creating a beautiful, harmonious you. And again, it is a level of education that you're not going to learn in just a retreat or a weekend or 3 months. It's not possible. So all of the coursework builds upon the previous class and builds and builds and expands and elevates and evolves humans in order to create the world that they say they want to create. Well, it's beautiful that you say that. Are you willing to do the work? Because this is warriors fucking work. And that's what Masters of Self University really is. It's learning what a true mystic, true, like what it really means to be a mystic. That is a warrior here to change the world because I've changed myself.
Beautiful. So I will include all your links in the description, but if you want to just tell people how to find you real quick.
Yeah, main thing is go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. If you're interested in enrolling and becoming a student in our university, sign up for a student enroll meeting. You can see it all on the website, but mastersofselfuniversity.com. And Rachel Fiori, you can find Rachel Fiori on all of my social media. You just search Rachel Fiori.
And I found your book on Amazon. So
Beautiful.
20
Yes.
Universal Ways of Oneness. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's a
That's
really
it.
good read. It elevated my frequency just reading it. So I
Yes.
highly recommend it to people.
Thank you. Yeah, it's powerful. And that's a good place to start for anybody who's curious about what the foundation of what we teach at MSU. Read the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness. It's a great place to start, easy place to start.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rachel, for being here today. I always have a lot of fun when I talk to you. It's great. It's refreshing. And I hope people, not just learn from this podcast, but go check out Masters of Self University. And, we've got it, people. We can do this.
Yes.
We are doing it. We are going into a new earth. And to close, Rachel, I had a vision of children in school, different kind of
Yes.
school, and they were going, "What? That used to happen on Earth?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're there.
Well,
We
we're
just
there.
have
We're getting
to,
there.
we're getting there. So thank you for being here. Thank you for coming into this incarnation. Thank you for the work you do. And yeah, till next time then.
Till next time. Thank you. I loved being here and I love you as always. So thank you for having me.